Hey, friends, welcome back to the Real Herbalist podcast. In this podcast, I talk to real people who are joyfully working with herbs in their home, and I hope to demystify herbalism as something that's difficult or scary and remind you that you already are a natural born herbalist. My name is Erinn McMurtry, and I am a health coach, a home herbalist, and an artist, and I'm excited to introduce you to some of my friends. So I just want to say that a real herbalist is a human being that works with herbs. So today we're talking with my friend Kayla, and she is a real herbalist. Welcome, Kayla. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me, Erinn. I'm so happy to be here.
For everybody, just a little context of how we met. So if you watch my YouTube channel, I talk a lot about Raw Revelations, which is a local company here in Southern California. And they do a lot of herbal blends and super high quality, high integrity company. I love their latte fix and their, the digestive restore.
GI Rescue?
Yeah, GI Rescue. That's what it is. The GI Rescue powder, which I talk about in my gut healing video. And so Kayla was working the booth at the local farmers market down the street from me, and that's how we met. So yeah, I'd love for you to just share a little bit about yourself so people can know who you are.
Yeah, I'm living in Southern California. I live in an area called Temecula. It's about an hour north of San Diego. I grew up really ill as a child, had severe asthma, and I was put on antibiotics pretty much constantly in my childhood. And it really, as I grew up, left me feeling very without my power as a person. And I just felt kind of let down by the medical system. And so growing up and learning new things and always trying to expose myself to new things, I discovered herbalism and how we can use herbs just to help us be happier and healthier and feel more energetic, and how they can really help us in the long term. So I really loved that kind of synergistic aspect of herbs and how everything works together and everything in nature is designed to complement each other. So I was so drawn to that, and I wanted to look more into that.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't know about your journey with your asthma. So is that what initially led you to start working with the plants?
Actually, probably not the asthma in itself, because as I got older, my asthma kind of went away. What more got me into the plant path was actually, as a teenager, I had really severe acne. Yeah, it was really horrible to deal with and left me very self-conscious, very insecure. And I finally realized that it had a large part to do with what I was putting in my body and how it was also affecting my mind. So I started to just kind of treat my acne, not so much topically anymore, but really holistically and from the inside out.
I love the holistic approach too. I'm a holistic health coach, as I mentioned. And I'd love for you to just share for everybody listening, what is your take on what holistic health is? Like, what does holistic health mean to you?
So to me, holistic health means using all of your resources, really, but also having the ability to know what your resources are and having that knowledge and empowerment in that sense. So knowing that you can turn to even herbs that you would normally buy at the grocery store to using your food, and how they can actually be treating you and nurturing you. And if that also means sometimes you need to look to Western medicine, like that's great too, because it's part of our toolkit.
I went to health coaching school at Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I don't know. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I have.
The way that IIN taught us about holistic health is they showed us this pie graph basically and talked about how health is like just food, for example, is one piece of that pie. Relationships might be another piece of that pie. Joy, creativity, the work that you're doing in the world, your mental health, like there's all these different parts of our health besides just the things that we typically think of as our health, like our symptoms or what we're eating or our weight or something like that. It's like, there's so many different, we're these whole beautiful beings that have so many different aspects to us. And so in the allopathic and the Western way. I think we're not really taught to think about our health as like this whole spectrum of our being, and the whole piece of what our life looks like.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Okay, so you had the asthma and then that kind of cleared, and then you had stuff coming through with your skin and you changed your diet. And then when did herbs kind of come into play into that?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly when, because I think I was looking for so many answers that I was trying so many different things at once. I went vegan a few years ago, and due to that, I just started thinking more consciously about what I was putting in my body. And that was also a big part of my acne journey. It was definitely a podcast I was listening to, Organic Olivia. She kind of like changed my world, and she exposed me to a lot of herbs that, because I always kind of heard about herbalism, but I wasn't really sure what was what. And yeah, her podcast like totally opened my eyes to the world of herbalism and got me really passionate about it.
Do you remember what the first herbs were that you started working with?
Yes, the first herbs I started working with was ginger. I worked a lot with ginger because I realized that I had a lot of coldness and stagnation that I needed to clear. So I started doing just like really strong decoctions of ginger and using it like around my period to kind of warm me up and get me ready for that time of the month. And yeah, ginger made a big impact. It also helped my digestive fire a lot, which also helped with my acne. Yeah, ginger was one of the first herbs. Also, ashwagandha.
Yay.
Ashwaganda's, yeah, we love ashwagandha. And I found that working with herbs that helped with like my stress levels was really important, because I tend to really hold on to stress and get easily overwhelmed. So working with adaptogens was really important for me.
Yeah, I love ashwagandha. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful plant. And for those that haven't worked with it, definitely check that out. The skin is our largest organ, right? So it's just so interesting when the body is speaking to us through the skin. I had issues in my early 20s with getting acne all of a sudden, whereas I never had it before. And I found out that I had a dairy allergy. So my body was trying to tell me like, hey, I'm not able to process this certain food that you're eating. You know, I did an elimination diet, which for those of you that don't know, basically you take out all the foods that you think are possibly causing issues in your body, typically things like gluten, dairy, you know, peanuts, things that are common allergens. And then you slowly bring them back in one by one. And I found that as soon as I took out the dairy, my skin immediately cleared up. And then as soon as I brought it back in, there it went again. I had immediate like whiteheads on my face. Down the road, found out that it was actually an issue with parasites that was creating that. But anyways, all that to say that if your skin is speaking to you, it's definitely an indicator of like something deeper that's going on in the body. So you started working with ginger and then ashwagandha. And then I'm curious, like, what plants are you working with now?
The plants I'm working with now, it seems like I am working with a different one every day, especially because of how much I had at my fingertips working with Raw Revelations. But every morning I drink my matcha with, actually I kind of change it up every day, but right now I've been doing mostly, I do matcha, cordyceps, cinnamon, cardamom, and the immunity matrix from Raw Revelation. So that obviously has the cordyceps in it as well, but it has 7 other mushrooms and like camu camu. It has like lung supporting herbs and like just a lot of vitamin C. So yeah, I've been doing that. Sometimes I do lion's mane instead if I need more focus and clarity. I usually put some adaptogens in of like a blend, but if I need like extra, I'll do ashwagandha or something like that.
You must have learned so much cool stuff working there. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I learned a lot. It was amazing working for them. I'm like so grateful that I had that opportunity. It was so cool. And getting to talk to people about it all the time was like a real gift.
So you got to have a lot of conversations with people who their lives were being positively impacted by playing with all these herbal remedies, basically.
Yes. Like so many people like you who like had huge transformations from things like GI rescue.
Yep.
And like Mucuna was one that really, I had kind of viewed it, to me it was like an underdog because I didn't know much about it. But then I had so many people told me just how much it impacted their mental health, and I was blown away by it.
Can you share more about that?
Yeah, so Mucuna is a really beautiful herb because it can help us balance out the chemicals in our brain, basically, help us produce the right ones. And it has the L-Dopa. So yeah, it's really great for positive mindset and things like that. But I had a woman actually tell me that over time of taking Mucuna on a regular basis, she was actually able to wean herself off of one of the medications she was taking, and she feels like she's even better now than she was when she was on it. And, you know, that's not to say you should stop taking your medications, but it is amazing what herbs can do for us.
Yeah, what I know about it is it's, like they call it the dopamine plant or something like that. Yeah, it's like the happy plant. So it helps you have more dopamine. So you would put it in like a smoothie, or how are people using it?
Yeah, I think she was putting it in either like her latte or her smoothies. I think she said she would do it in the morning and at night. So very consistently she was taking it.
What other plants have you heard about that have really impacted people's lives that you think people on the podcast should know about?
Cordyceps is one that also I had so many people just rave about, especially for energy, like even like strength and power, just feeling really strong. And I thought that was really amazing. A lot of people who worked very intense lines of work were really reliant on the cordyceps. So I thought that was great. And that's one of the reasons I started utilizing it too, was because I was feeling a little fatigued last year. I think especially after, you know, being so isolated with COVID, I just was in a funk. And cordyceps has really helped me to feel really energetic and present again.
Yeah, and cordyceps, for those that maybe don't know, are mushrooms or medicinal mushrooms. And shout out to all the different mushrooms. If you haven't watched the documentary Fantastic Fungi, it is amazing. If you don't know about the healing power of mushrooms, go watch that documentary. It is mind-blowing.
I always appreciated mushrooms, but after watching that, it just like sealed for me how we were like meant to live and breathe with the mushrooms and be in like unison with them.
Yeah, it's amazing. I bought I think a reishi, which reishi is more for longevity and the immune system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I bought a reishi tincture, and I put it under my tongue and just let it sit there. And I swear I felt the mycelium, like the mycelial connections in my brain, just like, zzz, especially after watching that, once like having the context of sort of the visuals of seeing the mycelium connecting underground, connecting all the trees. And I just felt that when I took it in, and that was a super cool experience.
Oh, that's so cool. A few other herbs that I really loved working with personally through Raw Revelations was some of the herbs that are in the tincture that they have IQ. It's ginseng, schizandra, rhodiola, eleuthero, Gotu Kola, bacopa, and ginkgo. And that one is amazing. I had so many people who became really dedicated to this product while I was there because I started talking about it a lot. I can't remember who it was that was interviewed on a podcast I was listening to, but he was a neuroscientist and he would do brain scans on people. And he said all of the people with the most beautiful brains he'd ever seen were people that took ginkgo every single day. So I started taking it every single day, and I started telling people about it, and it's just those herbs are so beautiful for mental clarity and focus and memory and long-term memory care as well. So I really, really love working with those herbs.
Beautiful. I would love to try that one. I'm
Yeah.
actually taking some Gotu Kola right now. My friend brought over this massive bag of supplements. I mean, she probably spent thousands of dollars on this, and I didn't even know what most of them were, but there were some that I did know, and Gotu
Mhm.
Kola was one of them. And I had heard of that herb and I had not ever used it. So I've been taking it in the mornings and I've been feeling really great. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that I've been doing that I feel like are bringing me to where I am now, but just sharing that I'm kind of experimenting with that herb right now. So that's cool that it's in there too.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really beautiful blend.
Are you making your own medicines?
Yeah, yeah, I make my own medicines all the time. I do a lot of infusions, just of like really mineral rich herbs like nettles, nervines like milky oats and skullcap. Yeah, I do a lot of infusions. I have been meaning to make some tinctures that I have made in the past, but I need to make more of like liver supporting herbs, like milk thistle. I do a lot of lattes every day. So I'll drink like several different lattes throughout the day with different things I need. Sometimes I'll do ones with like chaga and hisha wu for like skin support and collagen production. Also melanin production. Chaga is really cool for melanin production, so it can actually protect our skins from the sun, which I love because I go out in the sun a lot. And yeah, I don't know, I have a love for infusions. That's like my favorite way to work with herbs because it's so easy and you can, drink them throughout the day. You get them ready the night before. You can even drink them throughout the week if you make a really big batch. So yeah, infusions are my favorite.
Yeah. And for those listening, an infusion is basically a tea, but you're allowing it to steep for a lot longer. So the medicinal properties are higher. You put the lid on, keep in those like volatile oils and stuff. And so, yeah, you can make like a big quart batch and drink it for multiple days. So, and then, make it however strong you want. Awesome. So you typically make like a quart.
Yeah, usually a whole quart. Sometimes I'll do 2 quarts.
Do you put like 4 tablespoons for a quart, or you just change it depending on the herb?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, typically 4 tablespoons. If I feel like I need it to be stronger, I'll do more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And are you buying a lot of those herbs bulk from, say, Raw Revelations or Mountain Rose, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah, I usually purchase my my dried herbs from Mountain Rose from their bulk.
So where did you learn everything that Was it, I mean, I know you worked at Raw Revelations, so that's a piece of it. Have you just done a lot of research on your own? Have you taken classes? Because I think that's something, a lot of people who listen are on their journey of learning. And so I'd love to hear, how you've gotten where you are.
Yeah, definitely a lot of Google searches have gotten me where I am. Just exposure to different things on different people's blogs and seeing what other people were doing in the health and wellness space has exposed me to different herbs. Yeah, I'm also taking classes through Herbal Academy right now. It started off with like the beginners herbal studies, now like intermediate and then advanced up next. So yeah, I've learned a lot through them. And like I said, lots of different podcasts. I love listening to podcasts because I can just like go about my day and kind of absorb information as I'm doing other things. I have definitely like learned a lot through that.
Are you hoping to use the education to, put toward like a business, or what, are you just using it for your own for your own like home life, or what's your intention?
For both, I mean, it's something that I am so passionate about personally that I really want to make it like my life's work. So I have something kind of in the works right now that I'm hoping is going to be starting soon with me and another friend, and a kind of like women-centered business. But I won't talk too much about it yet. Eventually, like my goal is to practice as a clinical herbalist. But for now, I'm just so happy that herbs can be part of my day-to-day and I can use them and talk about them to support, my friends and family too. So even though it's something that I do want to make my career, basically, I'm just happy that I've gotten the chance to get to know the plants at all.
I'm curious for you, how has working with herbs and plants made your life better, aside from, the obvious health benefits? Like, how else do you feel like connecting with the plants and the herbs has enriched your life?
I feel like I have such a deeper connection with the earth and with the world around me because of the plants. I, will walk down the street and just see a patch of dandelion growing and think, it's so amazing that we get our medicine just growing up from underneath our feet. And it's just like I'm more grateful for everything around me. I'm less focused on myself, I think, and more focused on what I can do for the world around me. I just feel like when you start to work with the herbs, they really shift your perspective. And that's what they've done for me. I love that feeling of being like working in line with the earth and the plants. And I feel like that the herbs give us that gift.
Yay, that makes me so happy. Thank you for sharing that. I so agree. Oh my goodness. I personally feel so blown away at the beauty and the brilliance of our planet, and that our planet, our mother, creates all these beautiful, smart plants that can do different things for us. It's like everything we need is here if we just remember to turn back to our original mother, mama. So yeah, that's so beautiful. I also feel like for me, creating with the plants makes me feel in the present moment in such a unique and beautiful way. It makes me feel connected with my ancestors and all of the lineage of my family before me and human beings before me that have all worked with plants. Yes. It's like this primal connection that I don't really feel or find with anything else besides like gardening and working with plants.
Yeah, it's what we were meant to do. And I think that's what's amazing about it, is because like you start to realize, like, it just starts to feel like there is no other way, like than being connected to the plants. Because when you start working with them, you see that like we're meant to be together, like we're meant to be hand in hand on this earth. So yeah, it's amazing. And also, like you said, it does help us feel so connected to our lineages, and how, like, especially like our feminine lineage, because all the women before us, they were the mothers, the caretakers, the medicine women. Yeah, you just really start to embrace that beautiful, caring, giving energy.
We need more of that, and we need more celebrating of that on the planet. I love that so much. Yes. It's funny. I was at a women's circle last night, and I was doing a share with a woman that I had never met before. And I started sharing about how, I love plants and herbs. And she said to me after, I love plant people because they know how to go slow. And I just thought that was so funny and beautiful and true. And I was like, yeah, the plants and the earth, like, it really does slow you down. Yeah. And I think that is such an important medicine, because there's just so much like fast-paced, hectic energy, like go faster, do more, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, it's so disconnected from our roots, literally our roots. Yeah. So I thought that was funny, and I wanted to share that.
No, it's so true. Yeah, it's funny because I'm 22 years old. All of my friends are like very much doing things or not even necessarily my friends, but just like people I know that are in my generation. They're all like going all the time. And I used to be like that too, but since I started on this path and have like a more holistic mindset, it's just like I can't do that. I'm like tired after one outing. Like, yeah, I need to go home. I'm just gonna chill and like drink my tea.
Go hang out with my plants. There's just something that happens when you slow down, right? And I'm sure that's a big piece of the healing that you've experienced, is that now you're more present, right? And you're
Mhm.
able to calm that stress response that arises when we're in that mode of constantly going and not really being tuned into what we need,
Yes.
and being tuned into being not just active but also restful, right? It's like it kind of goes back to that balance of the masculine and feminine, the masculine energy and the feminine energy, both beautiful, both important, but if one doesn't have the other, then we go out of balance. And
Yeah.
so the
Yeah,
earth and the earth
definitely.
energy and the plants really is that feminine, slow force.
But yeah, definitely. And it is amazing too because, it's given me the ability to feel more present and connected with the people I love.
Mm.
So when I do have those moments of, going and doing, I feel like I enjoy it more and it's more of a gift that time.
Yeah, it's like connecting with the earth helps us to be more relate and be more compassionate and be more
Mhm.
empathetic, not just to the earth, which is obviously very important, but also to other human beings and
Mhm.
to ourselves.
Mhm.
Like I think too, making medicine tunes me into what's going on inside myself, instead of always being like going to some authority figure, in a white coat and telling me, like asking them, what do I need?
Yeah.
Instead, the plants help me to slow down and then be able to be in tune with like what's going on internally too. So
Mhm.
I just feel like there's like a relational quality to them, right? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No, definitely. Because for me, when I'm out in nature, we're surrounded by so much compassion.
Mm.
Like being out in nature, it's just such a lesson in generosity
Mm.
and being given to so freely. So when we get to experience that, we get to then learn from it and give it to others. And like you were saying about how when you're making medicine, you can tune in and see what you need. I find that it also helps me to help those around me tune in and ask themselves what they need and help them come to those realizations. I find that I'm like much better at that now than I used to be. And yeah, it's just amazing. We're just constantly given lessons when we're in connection with nature.
Oh, I love that. I love how you put that. That was beautiful. Thank you. So I'm wondering, what advice would you give, or what nugget would you give to someone who's interested in working with herbs? They feel the call, but they're like maybe intimidated, or they feel overwhelmed with all the information and they're just not really sure where to start. What advice would you give to them? What would you want them to know, or where would you tell them to begin?
Honestly, I think the first thing is to realize that you're already an herbalist. Like most people don't realize that they're already an herbalist. You are cooking, right? And you have your spice rack, or maybe you have some like parsley in the fridge. You're using herbs probably every day already. So if you think of it that way, it's way less intimidating. And also to realize that plants aren't scary. We're around plants all the time. They're not scary. Yes, some plants can be dangerous, but for the most part, they work very gently and very individually with us. Herbs don't have to be intimidating. It can be easy too, like making tea, making a cup of tea at night. That's an easy way to start mindfully working with herbs. I think that's one of the first things I started doing. I just started making my own tea blends like every night, just a little bit of something different based on what I experienced that day and what I felt I needed. And yeah, it's easy peasy.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. Oh my gosh. So true. I agree with you 1,000%. And that is what basically this entire podcast and my YouTube channel is about. So super grateful for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have connected to you for that reason, because I love meeting people who's like, that's your mission, I feel like, is to get people to know that. And I really love that. And also that you're doing this podcast, because we need more people to realize that.
Thank you. Yes, I think so too. And to realize that our connection with the earth and these plants is one of the most natural things that we're all born with. Like no one can take that away from you. No one can take that away from you. And that can never, you can never truly be divorced from that, even though in so many ways we have been because of our culture and just what we're taught. But it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up to our natural way of being and our natural way of living. And that is in connection with the earth. If it wasn't, none of us would be here, to just remember our roots, literally.
I know, I find it interesting how oftentimes I feel like people like us are viewed as being like almost on the fringes, like we're these kind of, to some people, we seem very bizarre in the way that we view the world around us, but it's the way that we were intended to be. It's the way that we used to live for thousands of years, like more in connection and utilizing the plants around us.
Yes.
So it once people start, it starts to come naturally.
Yeah. And I want to say too, like, if you've listened to my other content, you've probably already heard me say this, but I think I'm going to say it again because it's easy to forget. But if there's an herb or a plant or an aspect of healing or herbalism that is exciting to you or calling to you or piquing your interest, follow that, go down that rabbit hole. Like you don't have to feel like you have to learn everything there is to know, because even the most experienced professional doesn't know everything. Like there's unlimited things to learn about the earth and about these plants. So just go where you're being called, go where you're excited to go. Follow, if a plant, you're like, oh, I really want to learn about ashwagandha. I keep hearing about it from this person and this person and this person. Cool. Then just take that one little piece and just roll with it. You don't have to feel like you have to know everything. Just trust where you're being called to.
And I find too that oftentimes the herbs that pique our interest most and that we're the most intrigued by, usually there's a reason for that. Usually we're deeply needing that specific herb's medicine. So I think it's really important to focus in on that.
Beautiful. Thanks for adding that. Is there anything else you'd like to say or share before we complete?
No, I think that's everything, but just like, thank you again. This has been such a beautiful opportunity and such a beautiful time talking with you. Really grateful for this.
My pleasure. I'm grateful too. And it's so fun to geek out on plants and plant medicine with you. And, we've had some short conversations, but you've been working, so it's been hard to go deep. So it's been a pleasure for me too. Thank you so much for saying yes and sharing your journey and sharing just your love of the plants.
Thank you. I'm so excited to hear more of these conversations you have.
Yay. I'm excited to have them. Woohoo. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Kayla, and everyone. Thanks for listening. I'm going to have the video version of this podcast on YouTube and the audio on Spotify and everywhere else. So hope you enjoy, and talk to you all next time. Bye.